Welcome to the Cover 4 podcast. I'm Nolan Kangas. That's Bradshaw, Furlong, Luca, Moia, and Jeff Wall. We are almost, we're getting close to the end of the top 50 players. This series has been fantastic. Lots of laughs, lots of kind of some upset faces for sure, especially on our last episode. So definitely check that one out, 30 to 21. But let's go 20 to 11. Let's dive right in with a player who was left off somebody's list because of injury. That was the concern that Jeff brought to the attention.
Of course.
He was very high on most of our lists. David Bakhtiari, I believe I had him in the top 10. He was my 9th ranked player. So I had him the highest. And then who had him next? I think Bradshaw. Yep, Bradshaw 14. Luca at 26. So I think Luca still took into account maybe a little bit the injury. Jeff really did take into account the injury. Obviously, towards ACL last season, I believe. You should be back and healthy by week 1. We hope. He's a premier tackle in the NFL, if not the best tackle in the NFL. He helps protect Aaron Rodgers' blind side. But Jeff, you can, go through it again. Where would he be if he's healthy?
Yeah, if he's healthy, he's number 1. I don't think that's crazy at all. It's just that it's not just the injury, it's that he's older and he's injured. Like it just is harder to get back from an injury like that. Like if he comes back for week 1, that's crazy. I think that's nuts. Like he did deal with the devil or something, because usually you don't return that quickly. He was like right at the end of last season because it takes like at least 6 months just to like get the graph or whatever to like come together or whatever, and then the rehab itself. So how much is he going to be 100% coming into the season? I don't know. Obviously, they're trying to go for that big run to potentially get a Super Bowl. But yeah, I agree. I think he's number 1. And obviously, pass blocking for me is the most important thing. And I think he's the best pass blocker, which is why Aaron Rodgers, probably isn't the best quarterback, because he's had David Bakhtiari there a lot. But that's all I'll say about
it. So number 1 offensive lineman, I'm assuming you're saying.
Or
number one tackle.
Number 1 tackle, yeah. I kind of am biased to another guy, which I guess is pretty obvious at this point.
I figured. But of players, where would you put? Would you sort of put him in that kind of 15, 20 range?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. 15, 20 for sure. I think he'd be at least in the top 15. I could even arguably see him sneaking into the top 10. I could see it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So David Bakhtiari, he may have been the only player. Yeah. So obviously the only player in this stretch of 20 to 11 who one person left off. Obviously Jeff, had his reasoning, the injury. And you are right. Towards ACL near the end of the season. I think Saquon, who's tore at week 2, just got off the injured list. Yeah. Right. So he's back to, doing all the workouts. No news on Bakhtiari yet. Obviously still got a little bit of time until we get to week 1. Let's move forward. We have our 3rd ranked wide receiver on this list, the speedster. Tyreek Hill comes in 19th best player, which I think is kind of fair. I do think Luca had him the highest, if I'm not mistaken. Luca had him 12. I had him 17, Jeff 29, Bradshaw 24. So there was a gap there, obviously, between Luca and Jeff. I will say, and maybe, Jeff, this is maybe a reasoning for having him a little bit lower and maybe a little bit lower in Bradshaw's eyes too. He does have the best quarterback in football throwing him the ball, and I think he's in the most perfect situation as well, where you have a guy who can throw it 60 yards and he's laughing, and a guy who can run a 4.2. If he's on an offense with, I don't know, some Big Ben right now, he's not the same guy. If he's an offensive Kirk Cousins, who, yes, can throw a good deep ball, but isn't throwing as far as, Patrick Mahomes, probably not the same guy. We saw what he was with Alex Smith. Fun player, did a lot of, special teams too. He hasn't reached, he wasn't at this level, what he is now. Are you guys sort of feeling that same way?
Yeah, I feel that. I think just generally like what he can actually do. And I think that's a great point, Noel, that he is in literally the perfect situation for him that maximizes the skill sets and also doesn't really show off his weaknesses very often. I think in other offenses, we would see that, especially, Steelers offense is a great example where I don't think he'd be bad by any means because he's still good. He's still good at what he does. But I don't think he's the most versatile guy in the world. I think Patrick Mahomes, being who he is, really assists him a lot. He also just stunk it up in that Super Bowl, like real bad, like really, really, really bad. And I also I don't think like he's not that great against man coverage, shockingly. Like he should just be able to do a streak and burn guys. But a lot of times what he does is just crossers and then gets across the field and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. He's not my favorite receiver.
That's fair. I think he's still arguably the most dangerous receiver in moments. We saw that against the Bucks in whatever that was, week 12, whenever they faced off, and they just tried to do Carlton Davis on an island, and it was a horrible idea. And they went off for whatever it was, 10 catches, 245, and 3 tutties, whatever it was. But you're right. And then they started adding some elements in the Super Bowl, and he wasn't getting as open and couldn't find any gaps, but. You had some good points there, Jeff. Obviously, he ends up being our number 3 ranked wide receiver. Now that kind of puts in our eyes who ends up being in the top 2 guys. This guy, I still think he's underrated, and I think you guys had him a little underrated as well. The 18th best player heading into 2021 was Chris Jones, Tyreek Hill's teammate. He was 13th on my list. Jeff had him 31. Bradshaw had him 18. Luca had him 25. So again, a little bit of gap there. So then that makes me want to come back to Jeff. Your number 1 defensive tackle is obviously Aaron Donald. Is Chris Jones 2, or did you have someone else?
It was Buckner. Buckner was 2.
Oh,
yeah. Never live that down, Luca. Never live that down.
Yeah, sorry, boys.
No worries. But I kind of just I do think Chris Jones is great. He's a great player. He is. And again, it's sort of that impact thing where like the defensive tackles tend to make a little bit less impact, but he does make a lot. And for the help that he has around him, he does do a lot. I just think DeForest Buckner's a lot better than him, man. I think he's a lot better. Like I think he has always anchored his defensive line. I think the 49ers, fully healthy, I think you're going to see that a little bit as well. Like he helped them out a lot. Obviously they got Javon Kinlaw, who I think
Colts is fully healthy.
Colts fully healthy, boss.
Sorry?
Colts fully healthy?
Not 49, not 49ers.
Sorry. 49. But no, but I mean like back when he was on the 49ers, they weren't like I think he really helped them a lot. He rounded out their defensive line in a lot of different ways. But versus like the Colts now, oh yeah, man, like the Colts don't really have anybody there, and he's still making a big impact. So yeah, that's sort of my feeling on that.
Well, Chris Jones doesn't really have any anybody around him either.
No, he doesn't. I just think back
preference. Yeah, I think what we saw Chris Jones do in the AFC Championship against that Buffalo Bills offensive line, which had been good all season, and he destroyed them and made them look horrible. I still think he's underrated, and I think it's similar to what we were talking about with the guards. There's, you get this guy who's number 1, obviously Aaron Donald, and then we kind of forget about the other ones and how damn good they are too. And I think Chris Jones is that, and it's proven on our list. He is technically the 2nd best defensive tackle. I'm probably gonna have to. Yeah, I'll probably have to take this one too. 17 quarterback. He's our 4th ranked quarterback. I had him a little lower. Probably could have been a bit higher on this list if it wasn't for me. Sorry. Russell Wilson is our 4th ranked quarterback, 17th best player. I had Russ at 27. Jeff had him at 12. Bradshaw 19. Luca 23. The fall off. Like he was MVP, on pace for 60 touchdowns through the first couple, not even the first couple weeks. It was like the first 8-9 weeks. And then it went to shit, man. Like we saw the game where they almost lost to the Jets. What was going on? I like DK Metcalf. I like Tyler Lockett. I think Chris Carson is an underrated back, and he's had help. But again, he's got to be consistent the whole entire time, right? And then we saw bad throw against the Rams in the playoffs. Darius Williams takes him back for a pick six. It's just, I need to see it for a full season. He has probably the prettiest deep ball there is in the league, where it just throws it, that moon ball with perfect touch, right? He's very accurate. He's a fun player to watch when he's running outside the pocket and trying to make good throws, especially for a guy who's a little undersized. Still, there's 3 guys better in the NFL right now. And I think it's pretty consistent on most of our boards. But that's just my opinion. I think I need to see more. Do you think I'm wrong?
No, I don't even think you need to see it more consistently. I just think maybe not even more consistently. I think the biggest issue with Russ, and you saw it this past season, is he just falls in love with that deep ball too often, where he won't just take what's in front of him. Like he'll see DK down the field, he's like, I got to hit that instead. But he has Tyler Lockett, and I mean, more that's like a fantasy frustration because I had Tyler Lockett in a couple leagues, but like you have him open underneath, like you got to hit him. Like you still have a really talented receiver there, you got to hit him. And it just that's my one thing is like he falls in love with that deep ball too often, and that's what you saw in the second half of the season where he just kept trying to hit that big play over and over, and he wasn't taking what was given to him. And I know part of that, like the height does give him a little bit of a limitation, but he's good enough to overcome that. Like we can all agree with that. Like just because he's shorter doesn't mean he's like he has limitations, but I mean he's more than good enough to overcome that. And we've seen him do it time and time again. I want to see him just progress a little bit more and actually take what's given to him instead of just trying to hit that home run every single time. That's like I should have probably not should have, but like I could have had him above my number 11 player. No one knows who that is. I could have had him, but I want to see him he puts that season together for a whole year and makes that progression, then he would absolutely be like top 15, probably pushing top 10.
You know what I would love to see is if Brian Dable was his offensive coordinator and just let him throw 50 times. Because, sometimes when he is cooking, he is, he's fun to watch. And then kind of sometimes the offense gets stale, and that's when he has to do those, look for the deep ball the whole entire time, right? Let's move on. This one, he's, going to end up being one of the best defensive players in the NFL this upcoming season. Luca had him as high as 10. Myles Garrett comes in at 16 for us. I think we know what he can do. Fantastic edge rusher, number 1 pick, number 1 recruit. He's basically been this phenom for his whole entire, collegiate to pro career. And I think we're finally seeing it. And, in the last 2 seasons, he's shown he is so hard to block. He is fantastic. Luca, why is he so high for you, though?
Just the Browns as a whole, their defense got way better. And when you have that much talent around that side of the ball, he's bound just to break out. And I think Davion Clowney is going to have a career year too, and it's going to be because of Myles Garrett. Like all the attention is going to be on him. He's going to erupt, but then once he starts erupting, can't block all of them. And Garrett, he's going to get his 13 sacks, whatever it may be, and he's going to be in the backfield like pretty much every single game. He's getting better. The Browns are getting better. It's a recipe for success, boys. The Browns are back. I don't even know if they were even there to begin with. They weren't really there to begin with. But Myles Garrett, he was probably the defensive player of the year. I think I don't necessarily about you, Nolan, but I think I had him defensive player of the year for I think the first quarter of the season. Then Aaron Donald just
was Aaron Donald.
Yeah, but he's always going to be in the running.
I did this season, especially Jadeveon Clowney added to that defensive line. Obviously, they're going to be disgusting. If he picks up a couple turnovers, 4 fumbles, gets 15 plus sacks, and the Browns are, win the division, I can definitely see him rack up that first defensive player of the year. Moving on to 15, another defensive player, our number 2 ranked linebacker. He was my number 1 ranked linebacker. I believe I was the only one that had him at number 1. Let me double check. No, never mind. Actually, it boosted up because of Luca again. Luca, you had him as I think your 7th ranked player. And he fell a little bit because I think Bradshaw had him surprisingly kind of low. Fred Warner ends up being our 2nd best linebacker in the NFL. Bradshaw's given a look. What is that look?
Man tells me surprising. I had 23rd.
I still think
23 spots too low.
That's not my 7. He was 17.
No, you said 17 for you. So never mind. I was confused. Our number 1 linebacker, who I'm sure you all know who it is now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I had Fred Warner higher just because Fred Warner this past season is fantastic, probably the best in coverage. And even though what that 49ers defense had to deal with all the injuries, he was still healthy and was still so damn good. But yeah, it's going to be always, when we're talking about the linebackers, obviously it's going to be the guy who's coming up in the list, Fred Warner and Eric Kendricks. I think that's the clear top 3. I know obviously Jeff might want to add Roquan Smith or something like that. But I don't. Fred Warner is fantastic, man. Like he's that damn good. We can move on, just because there's not much to talk about. Like he's that no flaws in his game, right? And it's the same with the other linebacker coming up. 14. I think who had him? Jeff had him really high. Jeff, your 7th ranked player.
Ooh.
Jaire Alexander comes in.
Oh, nice.
14. He is our 2nd ranked corner. I know you might not.
Jeff's number 1.
Probably Jeff's number 1. But yes, Jaire Alexander comes in. I think it was Bradshaw. You and I both had him at 16. Luca had him at 24. Jeff at 7. Jeff, why is he the 7th best player in your eyes?
He was awesome. Just straight. He was awesome. And the defense is terrible. And maybe I'm being influenced by Caleb, our Green Bay Packer friend, but the defense was just bad. Like it just was not good this year. And he was the only thing that was good. He had Kevin King on the other side. He was locked down, shut down on the other side. Like if you had an even decent cornerback on that side, like things will probably be better. But yeah, I just think and also his game is like more and more replicable as the NFL gets, less and less, more and more enforces like defensive pass interference in the most absurd and ridiculous ways. The guys that are good at off coverage, and he's not just good at off coverage, obviously, but in off man coverage, those are the guys that you want, right? And he's just really, really good at that. And you have to, in my opinion, you have to put the best corner really, really high. You just do. And he's that good. He's not like Darrelle Revis great or anything like that, but he's excellent. He's an excellent player.
The one reason I had him a little bit lower, and I hope he does it this year, he's got to follow the number 1 receiver the whole entire time. Stayed on the right side. And I hate when corners do that. And I get it's part of the scheme and they can't control it. It's a DC. Why not follow the guy wherever if you're that good in man? That's just in my book. And I know obviously, Luca and Bradshaw, we kind of had it in a similar spot. But guess what? The number 1 corner is right in front of him. And he should be a little bit higher, but I think Jeff, you kind of pushed him a little low on this list.
Oh my God.
Jalen Ramsey, at number 13. He was my 5th ranked player. Bradshaw's 10th, Luca's 13th, Jeff's 32nd.
Jesus!
What? Jeff!
You're taking the bit too far, Jeff. Jesus, man.
First of all, you can never take a bit too far. As you know, if you listen to the Cover 4 podcast, which you should be subscribed to by now, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, that's it. I don't think I need to say anything more. I think
it's okay. Is Jalen Ramsey, is he your 2nd corner, 3rd corner?
Good question. Kind of forgot. He is my 5th. Yeah, he's my 5th. So I think it was
Marlon Humphrey over him, right?
Marlon Humphrey, and then Trey White, then Xavier Howard, then Jaire Alexander. I actually don't think that's okay.
Trey White is not a better corner than Jalen Ramsey.
He will be this year, though.
Marlon Humphrey is not a better corner than Jalen Ramsey.
He will be this year. That's the main point. Xavier Howard, I actually do think there's he actually brings you a lot of upside. He's really good at getting picks. Guy's got great hands. I don't know what to tell you.
The reason Jalen Ramsey doesn't get picks is nobody throws to him because the guy's already locked up.
Hey, I mean, you know what, man? Get an interception, dude. That's part of the game. Bait the quarterback.
Okay, so Jaire Alexander has 4 career picks. Man can't catch the ball. What a bum.
Yeah, what a bum.
But he's your number 1. He's your 7th ranked player.
But that's not the only thing. That's not the
Bring the receipts, Brad.
But then what's the difference? But then what?
You know, it was really good a couple years ago. Stephon Gilmore, like legit, like one of
a couple years ago.
I had him on the top. I had him in the top 50.
But
he's great.
But I think he might actually not be that good anymore. I hope he's better. But genuinely, like that season was incredible. Like that is, oh my God, that's the best cornerback season I've ever seen in my life. But I just genuinely like there are actually a few flaws to Ramsey's game. There are types of guys that can get him too. That's actually not like insane. Like, of course he's going to beat DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf is like the carbon copy guy.
I'm not saying he's the perfect corner. I don't think anyone's going to say he's the perfect corner. He has no flaws in his game. Like no one's going to say that. There's no perfect player in the NFL except for maybe Aaron Donald. But
yeah.
I know you have the thing of like he's not going to be that good this year. I get that. I understand that. but he's better than at least 4 of the guys on your list, at least 3 of the guys that you have ahead of him, or
Listen,
I guess
man.
2 if you want to go that far. But like, he's just incredible.
DC gone.
He's like one of the
gone.
best corners we have ever seen.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So
I think in general career, yeah. But like, this year, I'm sticking to my guns here.
He's only 26. He's not even old.
You never know, man. You never know.
I cannot wait to cheer for Jalen Ramsey more than I ever have in my entire life. And I didn't even have him at number 5.
I had him 5.
I'm not even the one going hardest for him here.
He is the best corner in football. We've seen it since his second year when the Jaguars, he was the centerpiece of that defense. And dude, like I believe there was a game against the Steelers where I think AB was targeted 12 times and had 1 catch. He was in your second year doing that to an all-pro wide receiver. He's done
No, AB caught a touchdown. He got like 2 touchdowns on him in that game.
And what
one in Jacksonville? That's what you're talking about, right?
Not talking about the AFC Championship. Remember when Big Ben had 4 interceptions?
Yeah, I remember. I lost Survivor on that one. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was fantastic in that one. He's been able to shut down DeAndre Hopkins. The only guy, and he admits, Devontae Adams was the only guy who kind of had him this year. And we remember in the playoffs, it was the one where it was kind of the Devontae Adams motioning in and out, quick throw by Rodgers, touchdown. I just think it's hard not to say he's the number 1 corner. If you're starting a franchise with a corner, it's him. And that's
probably, but you need a good safety back there, guys. You just do.
All right, let's move on. Jalen Ramsey ends up being our number 1 corner. Our number 1 linebacker, as we kind of alluded to, ends up being Bobby Wagner. I think, a lot of people would have that. I think Jeff and I both.
Jeff hates Bobby Wagner.
Jeff and I both had Fred Warner higher. This was Luca's number 7 player. So why Bobby Wagner over Fred Warner, Luca?
Oh, he's just an animal, man. Absolute animal. And Bobby Wagner, for me, like, if I'm any offense, if I'm running the ball, throwing the ball, I don't care. Wherever he is, I'm going the other way. I just am, because they're going to get blown up. Say what you want. He's got good hands too. Like, he's very good in zone coverage. I think he has a couple pick sixes in his career, and he's generational. Like, it was him, Luke Kuechly. I think I still think Bobby Wagner. I think I would take him over Luke Kuechly. People might disagree. He's just a freak. Like, he's there, and you know what? He doesn't miss a lot of time either. Like, for a guy who's that high impact, every single Sunday he takes no snaps off. Like, every single snap, he is there. He's in the middle of the field. He's the anchor of the defense. He is phenomenal, and he hasn't slowed down. Got to give him the respect he deserves, because without him and probably Russ, Seattle's probably a top 10, 15 pick.
Yeah. It's interesting you brought up Luke Kuechly, because I was literally going to say, if Luke Kuechly was still playing, is he the number 1 linebacker in football?
Yeah. See, I don't know. I'd probably take Bobby Wagner. I'm going to be completely honest. I just think he's phenomenal. But Kuechly would be 2 for me. I think he would slide in ahead of Fred Warner.
It's close.
It's very close.
And I think I don't know whether it was a podcast I was listening to or someone was bringing it up, and I think Bobby Wagner saw how brilliant Luke Kuechly was and how he knew every single play, and something along the lines of, he said, I got to get like that. And obviously he does it now, and that's why he's our number 1 ranked linebacker. But like I mentioned, it's probably Bobby Wagner, Fred Warner, Eric Kendricks. That's probably the consistent top 3, similar to what we mentioned with the corners. It's probably 1 and 2, Ramsey and Jaire Alexander. And obviously edge rushers we'll get to a lot in the next episode. Let's finish it off, though. 11. This will wrap up the episode. It's a wide receiver. Someone's still kind of surprisingly low. DeAndre Hopkins comes in at number 11. So he is our number 2 wide receiver. I had Hopkins at 12. Jeff had him. Jeff, you had him 4? Jeff had him at 4. Bradshaw 17, Luca 22. So Jeff,
the silence. I just love the silence from us.
I was kind of stunned, to be honest, because you actually have him over the guy who ends up being our number 1 wide receiver. Am I right? Why is DeAndre Hopkins better in your eyes?
Why is he your number 1?
That too.
He's dominant.
He's an animal.
He's an animal.
He's an animal. No, it's just he genuinely is like a dominant wide receiver in the Cliff Kingsbury system that is not as advanced as the system over in Green Bay. And I'm not taking anything. No, well, technically I am taking a bit away from Davante Adams, but Davante's incredible. Don't get me wrong. Davante Adams is an amazing wide receiver. So if I don't get to talk about him, I just want to put that out there. DeAndre Hopkins to me is just a little bit better. Man, he dominates everybody he plays against. And I honestly think like they're like the dude's just incredible. And also, man, like I like Kyler Murray as much as the next guy, but Kyler Murray's not Aaron Rodgers. And Davante Adams is incredible. I feel like let's say this, like literally think of the Hail Mary game against the Bills. If there is one guy that I need to take like, a shot to the end zone with, yeah, it's DeAndre Hopkins. It's not close. That guy can catch like anything. His hands are absolutely absurd. He was their offense. And you can't always say that about a wide receiver, but he literally was their offense. Like you can be limited by your scheme, by your quarterback, by your offensive line. There's a lot of ways to limit a wide receiver as great as they can be. He was not limited by any of those things in Arizona. He is the guy for me.
He should have been their whole entire offense, but Cliff Kingsbury wanted Kenyon Drake running dives up the middle. But no, I think you're right. Hopkins always brings this up when he talks about number one receiver. He goes, look at who I had to play with. Yes, he was great when he had Watson, and he had moments of Kyler Murray, but before that was absolute crap. And he still ended up being a consistent top 7, receiver in the league. So he definitely had that going for him. Luca, 22. You just saw, defense. I think you ended up having a lot of defensive players a little bit higher. Is that just, you were just looking at?
Yeah, just a couple guys I'd rather over him. Well, not a couple, 21. Actually. but yeah, no, he's a great receiver. But I think the guy that we all had number one, I'm assuming, me, you, and Brad, just take the year he had.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley, you're right. Calvin Ridley had a great season this past year, and I'm just looking for more, to be honest. Can't wait.
Since we know who number one is, obviously we'll talk more about him in the our finale episode. I think everyone has consistent DeAndre Hopkins too. Who is everybody's number 3 wide receiver right now in the NFL?
On my list, it was Tyreek Hill.
So it is Tyreek.
Diggs.
You had Diggs, right? Yeah, okay.
I would love to put Julio there.
I would be fine with that too.
Yeah, but I think, and Diggs too. I'm so indecisive, man. I don't even know. There's just
tough. No,
there's a lot of good receivers.
I think, genuinely, I think what kills it for me with Davante Adams, you can say like, oh, he's got a few drops. He doesn't have that many drops to really be anybody's concern. Let's be real. DeAndre Hopkins really doesn't, though. He really, really doesn't. But he also, Adams also doesn't really have that like, oh my God, I'm so scared of him being like that home run threat. And truthfully, I do think like how you guys were talking about, Derrick Henry prior to this episode, you do kind of have to have that, like, put the fear of God in the defense kind of thing. And I don't necessarily think he has it. Where DeAndre Hopkins now forever, I think like if he's in the end zone, you're going to be scared. You're going to be scared that he's going to come down with it pretty much.
Yeah, I do think that's kind of fair is when you're looking at the Cardinals, the scariest guy on the field is DeAndre Hopkins. When you look at the Packers, the scariest guy on the field is the guy who's throwing the football. Because it doesn't matter where Davante Adams is running, Rodgers can find him and put it in a spot where no other quarterback can. So I think there's a little bit of truth to that.
But he's just so wide open. Like Rodgers is he's like 5-10 yards open.
What I will say is take all the team, like what teams these receivers are on. I think no matter what you are looking at, if you're taking a receiver to start a team, you're either having Adams or you're either having DeAndre Hopkins. Sure, you can start talking a little bit about the younger guys. I might put Diggs at 3 just because I need to figure out my quarterback situation. And like I said, if it's, great, I've got to take a veteran quarterback. It's Big Ben and it's Tyreek Hill. It's not going to be the same as if I have a quarterback middle tier with a Diggs who's open every single play.
Diggs is a bit more explosive than both of them, to be fair.
Who's a better route runner, do you guys think? Adams or Diggs? Or Keenan Allen, if you want to put him in.
Adams. Adams is, in my opinion, he's the best route runner in the NFL.
I think Adams is just because I've seen too many times the meme where he's like, I think it was the Bears. He was pointing to all 3 guys that were covering. He was like 1, 2, 3. And like that's pretty savage. That's pretty savage. Like I can't talk about that. Like that's ridiculous.
They're close, and obviously Diggs is there. I'll still say Adams, but I do think what Diggs might have over Adams is somehow like Adams gets open enough where he'll make the easy catch, whereas somehow Diggs brings down balls, and you go, how in the world did he get that? And he'll have a corner all over him, and he'll get his feet down. I think Diggs might have that kind of insane catchability a little over him, whereas Hopkins already has that, and Diggs might be kind of right there behind Hopkins. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased, seeing what Diggs did for Minnesota for a few years, but that's going to do it. DeAndre Hopkins rounds out 20-11. He is our number 2 wide receiver. Also, we've pretty much said who our number 1 wide receiver is, but where will he end up on our list? Where will the top 3 quarterbacks end up on our list? Obviously, we've got 2 tight ends. Who ends up being the number 1 tight end on that list? Still plenty more to come. This is the Cover 4 podcast. That's Bradshaw, Luca, and Jeff. 10-1 coming up probably next week. So stay tuned and look forward to that. We'll see you guys soon.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Lingo Sports and Lingo News for a whole lot more just like this.